Hi, I'm Nina. For those of you who don't know who the fuck I am, I will be attending MIT this fall. I made a video about my college decision reactions. It was cool. And for those of you who are back, hi, what's up? I thought that since it is summer, the beginning of college application season, I would sit down, make a video for y'all about what I have learned from applying to college and advice I have for all y'all high schoolers and maybe even middle schoolers, but like, I don't know, we'll see. I have some coffee with me and look at this holographic straw. Isn't that amazing? Okay. I'm just gonna be sipping on some coffee and dishing some advice. So I have some notes on what I want to say, because this is a pretty serious topic. Like, college applications are often like the most stressful part of a high schooler's career. Definitely was for me, and it is something that could have a large impact on your future. So I'm trying to make this like a serious video, giving some serious advice because it's hard to apply to college, okay? Applying to college is hard. But before we start, I want to give a little disclaimer, which is that there is no checklist for getting into college, okay? I can give all the advice I want. I could sit here and tell you exactly what I did, but that is not a guarantee that you'll get anywhere. You can't be like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna get into the college of my dreams. That's not how it works. Ultimately, a lot is left up to chance, and you know what? That sucks, but it's just the reality of the situation. However, there are obviously things that can help improve your chances, which is what I'm gonna be sharing with you today. And just also some tips to make this process easier. Because once again, it is hard, it is draining. It is emotionally and mentally like a killer.
Hi, big disclaimer number 2. I say a lot of stuff in this video, and just if y'all didn't know, I'm not an admissions officer. So take this all with like a grain of salt. Basically, a lot of the stuff that I say is stuff that I've heard from various other admissions officers on like college visits and stuff. It may not necessarily be 100% true. It also may not apply to every school. So don't come for me. Thanks.
I'm gonna try to do this chronologically. So I'm gonna start for all you middle schoolers and or early high schoolers, people who have yet to go through the majority of high school. I have some advice, because college applications ultimately start with what you do in high school. So that's important. If you're a rising senior already, you don't have to listen to this, but also don't completely disregard it, because there's still time for all the middle schoolers or early high schoolers. What I would say is academically try to challenge yourself. This could mean taking AP classes if your school offers that. If your school doesn't offer AP classes, that's like totally fine, but make sure that you are taking advantage of the resources your school has. So if your school has different levels of classes, try to challenge yourself by taking a few high-level courses. Don't just take the classes that you think are easy, that you think you'll get an A in and like breeze by. Also, don't just take the classes that your friends are taking. Take classes that challenge you academically, because it shows the admissions officers that you are willing and able to challenge yourself academically. And also, if you do well in those courses, it shows them what type of academic achievement you're capable of. And that's a good thing. The next thing I want to talk about is extracurriculars. You know how all the colleges, they do a holistic review of all their applicants, right? So that means that they're not only looking at academics, they're also looking at what you do outside of school and outside of academics in general. And so extracurriculars don't necessarily have to be like a sport or a club. It's just whatever you do outside of school. So if you work at Trader Joe's, that's an extracurricular. If you have to go home and take care of siblings, that's an extracurricular. Anything that you do outside of school is an extracurricular, and admissions officers are usually like pretty good at recognizing that some people don't have the privilege to just do lacrosse all day after school. Some people have other responsibilities that they have to attend to, other more important things that they have to do. Even if it means that like you're not state champion in hockey or whatever, people know that you're spending your time out of school productively and that you have other things to do and that you're doing them that honestly won't harm you in any way. But in terms of extracurriculars, I would say try to stick to a few and to do them well. For those of you who don't know, the Common Application, which is a form of application that typically a lot of colleges will accept, has an activity section where you can list up to 10 extracurriculars. That doesn't mean that your goal should be to have 10 extracurriculars, because that's an insane amount, and I'm pretty sure it's impossible to sustain 10 extracurriculars well and to devote, time and passion into 10 different things. So what I would say is stick to 2 or 3 and to really commit your time and your effort to just a few. So for me, my 2 big ones were that I do rhythmic gymnastics and I did mock trial in high school. I also had a few like smaller extracurriculars, like I played violin in my school orchestra for a couple years. I volunteered to coach at my gym for a couple years. I had those and I wrote them down because like I had the space to, but ultimately what I think really helped me was the fact that I had 2 really big extracurriculars that they could see I was committing my time and effort to. And lastly, for the youngins, the young high schoolers, if you're in middle school, don't even think about worrying about this yet because that's just sad. But standardized testing, SAT, ACT, either one is fine. What I know a lot of my friends did, I didn't do this personally, but a lot of my friends did it, was that they would take a practice SAT, they would take a practice ACT, and then decide which test worked better for them. I'm not talking from experience here because I never actually took the ACT, but I'm pretty sure how it works is that the ACT is just, you have to work a lot faster. And I actually think I would have been good at that, but I never took it, so whatever. Decide which one's right for you and then work on it. So what I did, I didn't have like a tutor, I didn't have prep classes, I didn't even buy the practice book. What I did, or what my mom did, she would go down to the library, like our public library. She would borrow like the Barron's SAT book, because they had that there, or like Princeton Review or whatever. And I would do the practice tests in those books. And then she would return the book and get a different book, and I would do those practice tests. And then that kept going. Basically, how I studied was I did so many practice tests that I was able to get a really good feel for what the SAT is like, which answers they're looking for, all that jazz. My next tip would be when you're studying for these tests to focus on what needs the most work. So for me, I'm personally I'm pretty good at math. Math comes kind of easy to me. And the math section of the SAT, for me, I didn't need to work very hard on. What I was not good at was the reading comprehension. So I did basically exclusively reading comprehension and the writing section for a really long time. I took a bunch of practice tests in the summer. Once school started, I would take one every week on Saturday. And I did that all the way until November, which is when I took the test. And that worked for me. It sucked having to take that many tests, like practice tests. But ultimately it worked out because I was done after taking the SAT once, and I never had to worry about it ever again. And it was great. But yeah, so that's advice for what you can do during high school. Now, if you're a senior or a rising senior, it's time for the heavy stuff. The actual application, which is a rough time, but here's what I want y'all to know. First of all, applying to college is a lot of work. When I was applying to college, people told me to consider it kind of like the same amount of work as an AP class. Or if you don't have AP classes, basically the most rigorous class that your school offers. It's basically that much work. So you're taking an entire extra AP class basically with these applications, because it is a lot of work. Now, because it's a lot of work, what I would suggest is to start early, now, if you haven't already. Most college application stuff doesn't come out until August 1st, but what you can start working on is the Common App essay. So as I mentioned before, the Common App is basically like an application that gets sent to a lot of schools. Some schools don't take it. Some schools have their own applications, like MIT has their own application, UCs have their own application, but a lot of schools will take the Common App, which means that it should be really good because a lot of schools are going to see this. And I think the hardest part of the Common App is writing the essay. So start on that because the prompts are the same every year. So you can look up the prompts, start thinking about what you want to write about, start writing a few drafts. It's important to start early because you are probably going to have at least 20 drafts of this essay, as I did. It's really bad. The next thing I would say is set deadlines for yourself. Hold yourself accountable in some way, because even though it's like the same amount of work as an AP class, the time is not divided as well or as structured because it's up to you. The only deadline that there really is the November 1st deadline or the January 1st deadline or whatever deadline it is for you to like hit submit on your applications, which means that you have to be able to not procrastinate. And that's hard. I love procrastinating and I do it a lot. Well, I don't love it. It happens, okay? But this is one thing that it is important to not procrastinate on because you cannot write a good essay overnight. Just write a draft. It doesn't have to be good. Get your thoughts out there. Write whatever you can. This essay, this Common App essay, is basically what's going to set you apart from other kids because, you know, you have your numbers, you have your scores, you have your grades, but there are like a bunch of other kids with the same or better numbers, scores, and grades. So how are you going to distinguish yourself from like the rest of the crowd is with your essay, because your essay is supposed to give the admissions officer a look into who you are as a person and why you deserve to go to their school. The next thing I would say is choose what colleges you apply to smartly. Make those decisions wisely. Don't apply to a college because, like, I don't know, it's an Ivy or because your friends are applying. Do your research and apply to a school if you can seriously see yourself going there. See, what I did in the end was I panicked and applied to like 8 schools that I didn't really want to go to. I was kind of just like, oh, maybe I'll get into this one and then it'll be like amazing, yay. But in reality, I was just like very, very stressed out and nervous. And that's not the best idea because those supplemental essays were probably not good because I didn't actually want to go there. You know what I mean? Now, in addition to the lovely all-encompassing Common App essay, each college has their own supplemental essays. And these are the real killer because you don't understand how many there are until you start to write them. I applied to a bunch of colleges and each college has their own number of supplemental essays. Like Michigan had 3, Wesleyan had 0. So it really depends on like what the school is, but overall you're going to be writing a lot of short essays and you're going to have to convey why you want to go to a school in like 300 words, and it's hard to make yourself stand out like that. Now, I can't really give advice for all these supplemental essays, but I can direct you to a place that can give you advice. There are a ton of websites such as collegevine. I use collegevine a lot. These are websites that'll like tell you how to write the supplement for colleges, and I would suggest you consult those websites and follow them if necessary, because when I was writing a lot of these essays, I was just totally lost. I had no idea what they were supposed to be like, what they were looking for, and collegevine helped me a lot. Thanks, collegevine. Now, after you write all these essays, or not after you write all these essays, but when you're applying, make sure to keep in mind what the deadlines are and what you need to submit. So I would suggest that you stay organized. I personally had a large spreadsheet that I called my ultimate college spreadsheet, which I listed like all the deadlines, if the schools had a supplement, if I had written that supplement, the status of all my applications, all that jazz. I tried to stay as organized as possible because it would really suck if you accidentally missed a deadline or you accidentally forgot to send your transcript to a school that you wanted to go to. That would not be good. So try to stay organized, know your deadlines, know what you need to submit. Once you hit that submit button, I think the best advice would just be to chill out. At that point, everything is out of your control. There's nothing you can do. So why not just be relaxed and happy that you're done, happy that you don't have to do it again. Just chill out. I'm just gonna end this video by saying, last but certainly not least, this is like probably the most important piece of advice. You don't need to go to like a top tier college to be happy, to get a good education, or to be successful later on in life. That was something that I heard a lot in high school, but that I never really believed until like recently. But it's so true. Like, I've met so many people in my lifetime, so many like professionals who didn't go to like Harvard, they didn't go to Yale or whatever. They went to their state school, they went to their safety school or whatever, and they're happy and successful. I know a lot of you have watched my college decision reaction video, and if you haven't, then you should go watch it. But the point is, you may have noticed that for a lot of the reactions, I didn't really seem like I cared. The rejections, I was like, oh well. Part of that has to do with the fact that I got accepted to MIT first, so like the pressure was off. But part of that was because I really honestly believed that I would be happy no matter where I went. I was like, as long as I get into one school, I can make it work. And don't, especially for the young, back to the young kids, to the middle schoolers, to the early high schoolers, don't focus 100% of your time and energy on this stupid college application process, because it's not going to be worth it. So that's my advice. Got kind of deep and introspective towards the end there, but if you have any questions about applying to college and fun stuff, comment it down below. Maybe I'll do another video where I answer your questions about college applications and whatever. For the most part, I just want to say to any of you who are currently applying to college or who have to apply to college in the future, good luck. And if you make it through the other side, good job.